Come on, please. Yes! 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 Yes!
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is episode number 22 of the 9 Dial Podcast, your one-stop shop for talking tungsten. Josh has seemingly gone over to the... he's defected to the US side of things, but I'm all aboard Australia. What a fantastic week we had, though, in darts, Josh.
Oh, we did. And
Thank you for joining me once again.
pleasure.
For the show.
Pleasure as always. And it's all done and dusted just like that.
Yeah.
It's so sad that the World Cup's already done, but we have so much to cover for it of what a great tournament it was.
The entire... I think the majority of this podcast will just be salivating over the fact that our first thoughts are Frankfurt was once again unbelievable. That was absolutely fantastic. Darts is surely the greatest sport in the world off the back of that week. We had drama, we had miscounts and arguments, we had all sorts of upsets and big finishes and low scores. It was one of the most extraordinary weeks. I've watched very little other sport because the darts was so captivating. There was so much of it on. It was a simply fantastic week, a fantastic tournament. We had talked about it quite a bit in the lead up, and it delivered in every single possible way. What a tournament and what a sport.
Absolutely. Oh, well, I mentioned it's one of my favourite tournaments on the calendar, and again, it showed for right reasons. We had... Again, miscounts, beef. We had Netherlands not dropping a single leg in the group stage. We had so much going on, but wow, it's such an amazing tournament, and I love watching pairs darts and just the camaraderie between the two.
It will never cease to
representing your nation as well.
Confuse me why the PDC for the first 12 editions of this tournament had to sort of combine singles and doubles.
Singles
the
and
doubles
then if it was
always the best.
Yep.
It was always the
100%.
unique element of this tournament outside of playing for your country, obviously. It was always where the drama was at. And it showed again the switch to just being doubles 3 years ago was a massive, massive success.
Yep.
The more nations means more crazy moments. And there were so many. I'm not even going to put every single crazy moment up on the screen. We're going to blabber on several of them. And I was watching the group. The entire group stage was the crazy moment because a lot happened. Firstly, Chinese Taipei. Last year they were incredible for the darts they produced.
Oh, they were, yeah.
This year they were even more incredible for some of the stuff they didn't produce. So often in this tournament we'd see guys ask what's your left, that sort of thing.
Yes.
I think
what you want left as well.
What you want left and how you go about certain things. I think they just got completely confused between whether the checkout in the previous leg, because he was throwing up at the single one down for the treble 19, and Kirkman's like, new score. What? It was... And then you had the the no-look 180 attempt, and then the shake of the head. It was absolutely
madness.
Crazy, that game against India.
Sure was. Yeah, there you go. Just looking at each other going, what the hell, man, sort of thing. But so funny because, again, you're trying to make it as easy as possible for your partner, right? So say if you got 66 left and you're trying to leave double 18, 36 to go, treble 10, but then if you miss it up, it's like, oh, you could go down to a 2-dart finish, which actually makes it more work for them. So it's all about building a good relationship and trying to work out what doubles are favourable for people and what are not. So, yeah, just a big mix-up in that sort of thing there.
So
very funny.
That was very funny. This was going to happen at some point.
Oh yeah.
Group D, Ireland 4-2 over Gibraltar 4-2 over China, and China 4-2 over Ireland. A 3-way tie, no difference in the leg difference, no difference in the scores. It came down to legs won against the throw, so teams that lost the throw for the ball actually benefited in that regard.
Exactly.
So Ireland ended up going through. I would have much rathered, you could have done it on average, in which case Ireland got through anyway. I would have much rather done you pick one person from each team and do a 3-way 9-dart shootout.
Yep,
we've seen it at MODUS. We saw 2-way 9-dart shootouts at the Grand Slam in a few times in its history. That would have been far more entertaining, but it just added more to the drama of the cup.
Absolutely. No. Well, was it you that ruled out Gibraltar on the group stage, or was it a different
nation?
Bahrain. Bahrain, sorry. I thought it was Bahrain.
I said Bahrain wouldn't go through. No.
There you go. So Gibraltar,
I said China were a good chance, and to be honest, when they won the game 4-2, I thought, they might have done it here. But no, legs won against the throw, which is not the greatest tiebreaker in my view. But that's how it worked. In Ireland, they got to the quarterfinals off the back of despite losing that last match. So they did really well, O'Connor and Barry, to overcome that sort of
crazy
thing.
Group D.
Before we get to the final itself, there are a few other ones. The Malaysian pair were so slow. I was watching them in 2x speed on KO. Like, honestly, they were so slow, but very effective.
Yes.
Both North American, Canada and the US were awful. There was a moment, it wasn't Selacek, it was the other Czechia pair, where it appeared he celebrated so hard after winning a match that his tooth fell out. It turns out it was just chewing gum. So all teeth are accounted for after the World Cup.
Wow. Still intact.
Yes, all teeth. Dan Dawson was like, it appears one of his teeth has fallen out of his head, which was a hilarious piece of commentary. It wasn't true, disappointingly, but still a great line from Dan Dawson, who had, the whole Sky Sports had a great weekend, as did everybody else. But I was trying. There's probably more crazy moments that were missing. There were so many missed big numbers as well.
Yep.
The pressure was just on. So many doubles going into the wrong double. So
Wrong
tops
beds.
kept hitting double one, for example. So a lot's going in the wrong house there.
Saw that with Whitlock as well. I think he did that. He was going for tops, double one, then hit double 19 in that game against
there
Germany.
Were quite a few accidental
we'll
double finishes, but we saved the best for last. And to be honest, that final day was fairly pedestrian when you look at the scores, with the exception of one match, which we might get to a little bit later in the quarterfinals. Certainly the two semis were it's a fairly one-sided the further they went on, but the final itself was absolutely fantastic. Josh Rock, he's going to win more majors in singles, you feel. Especially, I've never seen him throw this well. Every single... He'd walk up to the hockey, he was throwing first for Northern Ireland, and you just assumed it was going to be a 180. Those 60s were going... The grouping was absolutely excellent.
Phenomenal.
He was on fire. He was the MVP for the tournament.
I think Josh Rock could be in the Premier League very, very soon.
Well, if the Premier League was starting this weekend, I'd have him in.
I'd say he'd be a favourite for it. He was unbelievable.
That doesn't mean he'll be in there because when we get to January, this is going to feel like ages away.
I know.
But no, he's in my 8 for now if it was starting this weekend.
Absolutely. God. He's just so good. And I loved his raw emotion as well after hitting. He's like trying to get
every 180 he really was trying to he was almost outdoing Gerwin, who was much more relaxed this weekend. Gerwin, there was a few less hawahs.
Well, he still
he did a few. He did a few, but it
it
wasn't quite as regular as we've seen from Gerwin. Regularly, we said that Wales would be a very dominant pairing in Clayton and Price, and they were very consistent. They probably didn't quite reach their absolute A+ level game, but they were just very consistent throughout.
They were.
But this final was extraordinary. It came down to the first 10 legs was absolutely marvelous. It got quite edgy. Legs 11 to 18. Rock wasn't quite hitting those 60s. Gurney was missing a bit more on the doubles. They missed a bunch of match starts. Rock could have won it with a 140 out. And Gurney missed a bunch of double 5. Clayton takes out a very Johnny Clayton clutch 70 out on double 16 last start in hand. It went down to a deciding leg, 134, 100, hang on, I'm just trying to go. 134 Rock, 100, 180, 180, 171 to leave 16, 100, and then 16 out and 2. I think that's pretty much how it went.
It's on the next page.
But
at least for
the most important match was won by Northern Ireland. They're the 6th different team to win the cup. England's won 5, the others won 4, 2 each for Scotland and Wales, and 1 each for Australia, and now Northern Ireland. The 6 different nations, and Josh Rock again was the most important player, I think, in this tournament. Daryl Gurney was important in parts. He was going a bit low. I mean, every time Rock would start with a 180, bring up a 9 possibility, and then every time Gurney would just step up and the first start would be low. But he did what he needed to do, and certainly on the finishing end, he was probably the more important of the two.
I think you could say Rock was more the leader of the two, and then Gurney was more the supporting role. His doubles were fantastic as well, much like Rock. But usually in these World Cup formats, you've got one who's the leader and one that just is the supporting role. For Australia, obviously, Damo was the leader of it, and then Whitlock was sort of the supporter when he could. But those two worked very, very well, and the absolute emotion afterwards, the ecstasy
it was
of the victory was incredible.
It was very an emotional finish. Josh Rock, obviously, first real big pot. And for Gurney, it was his first major in about 6.5 years. You got to go back to the 2018 Place Championship finals, and he
Yes.
won the World Grand Prix in 2017, beating Whitlock in the final, funnily enough, in a close classic there in Dublin all those years ago. So it's been quite a while between drinks, certainly for Daryl Gurney.
Well deserved.
Well deserved. It was the first World Cup of darts for Northern Ireland where Brendan Dolan was not participating, and they've gone on to do what was their best ever because they made the final for the first time. It was their first win as well.
There you go.
So there we go. 1-3-4-1. I should have just left it there. So this was that was the Northern
Last
Ireland
leg.
leg. 1-3-4, 180, 171, 16 and 2 for an
Incredible.
11 dart finish. There's Daryl Gurney's 2017. Grand Prix, 2018 Players Finals, and now 2025 World Cups. His third major.
Talk about
if you wish to count them all as majors.
So talk about under pressure on that last leg where there's so much going on. Deciding leg 1-3-4-1. It's incredible. Incredible the standard that was played.
And this backs up what we were talking about earlier. 102.42. 9 dart average, individual average for Rock, and 113.18 across the first 9. 40% on doubles to 36.84. So Gurney slightly more important there. And 20 maximums. Even though I would argue the last of the 3 for Gurney in that last leg was the most important. Now the 171 is basically a 180, 3 big trebles. They just worked together. Rock led the way in the scoring phase. The finishing was mostly Gurney, though not completely as one-sided as the scoring was.
Yep.
It was, they were just fantastic all the way through those matches, and you could sense right from the start that they were going to be a risk, a danger for these teams all the way through,
for sure.
and they were fabulous.
They were the 4th seed, I'm pretty sure, coming
Number
into
4
it.
seed?
Yeah, so obviously they've got some respect coming into it, obviously, but no, they were very good together. The scoring of Rock was incredible, and as I said, Daryl sort of had that supporting role, which he did very well, and 40% of the doubles is pretty good. And then, especially in that last leg where it mattered, he found a way.
Well, they
just to
both
get him
found
over the
what they
line.
needed
They did,
to.
but especially Daryl. But I mean, Rock was just exceptional the whole of the game. He had a little period in the game in the sort of last 2-3 legs where he sort of declined.
There was about
but
2-3 leg phase there where he didn't go anywhere, and then he gets 180
And
where
then-
Muddle's like, he's back, he's back.
Yeah, in that last leg was just incredible.
So just going over
What a
the
story.
individual matches, an 8-2 win over South Africa. Now, South Africa was another one I needed to mention in the crazy moments because Norway beat Poland in the last match of that group, which put South Africa through, which was wild. Devin Peterson, it was good to see him on a stage, and they were roaring each other along in that particular match, but Northern Ireland won that. Then 8-5 over the Republic of Ireland in the All-Irish contest. It was a great weekend for that little island. Then an 8-1 demolition job of Germany, who had a strong tournament and probably weren't... no one probably predicted them to win by that much if they were going to win at all. And, of course, a 10-9 win in the final over Wales in an extraordinary game of darts. For the positive surprise, I'm just going to chuck out a bunch of countries just as a thank you to saying you helped make this tournament really good for various reasons. Firstly, Wales, again, another strong performance from Clayton and Price, who proved themselves to be the best pair, and it does help that they play each other consistently. There's no real other Welsh guy. Jim Williams is the number 3, and he's down sort of in the mid-40s in the rankings.
Yeah.
So these are the 2 guys, and they certainly work well. We already mentioned the Clayton and Price respect after the match.
Amazing. Incredible.
Which, to be fair, I think everyone... I don't think it was lost on anybody. It was pretty clear to everyone that this was an extraordinary match. It was an extraordinary finish. Time to talk about our Aussies.
Yes.
Heta and Whitlock. Better than last year.
We did do better than last year.
Last year wasn't very good at all. But a quarterfinal berth. Heta did miss a match start at tops, but it was sort of an outside chance.
It was.
It could have gone in. I don't think we would have beaten Northern Ireland.
So good.
And we wouldn't have beaten Northern Ireland with the way they were playing in that tournament, but in all likelihood. But still a strong performance. Good to see Simon Whitlock.
Yes.
It feels like he's enjoying his darts much more now without a card.
Absolutely, yeah. It was smiling and laughing at times. I loved in the post-game interviews I watched, I think it was by Tungsten Talks, wherever it was, he was happy. He was just enjoying himself. Exactly. He was just enjoying himself. So he didn't have a fantastic campaign.
No, there was too many scores of 41 and sort of straying into the 5s and 1s going for the 60.
Yep. Damo was really good. Very good. But yeah, Simon just at times just wasn't up to the standard, which sort of had the downfall.
It sort of made them a couple of darts behind chasing legs, but still very strong.
Not saying at all that it's his fault, because he had some fantastic moments.
Oh, no, he did.
Especially in that Germany game, some fantastic clutch moments. But overall, he just probably wasn't up to the standard. But still played a good role, but just wasn't good enough in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, but a quarterfinal was a good performance for the Australians.
Yeah.
Good for Damo
Respectable.
as we head towards. He's going to play the US Darts Masters next week.
Yep. And
then he'll play in the World Match Play, of course, coming up next month. we'll keep an eye, of course, on that qualification as that closes down. The Germans, for
Home
their
crowd.
now the home crowd definitely helped them, particularly in
It
one
did.
match. But look, I liked what I thought we were going to see from Pietreczko and Schindler. Schindler again is just fantastic. Pietreczko still annoys me a bit as a player, but
little bit.
Schindler is very, very good.
Love
They were
Schindler.
strong in their group. Wins over Germany and Portugal. Shout out to the Singapore pair for actually winning a match.
Yes.
Paul Lim, we
Paul
love
Lim.
ya. Yeah, so the Germans did very well. They floundered in that semi-final, but they had a very strong campaign, undoubtedly. The Netherlands pair was another one that looked very, very, very strong.
Noppert and
Van
Van
Veen
Veen.
and Noppert, right from pretty much the first leg. You could say, okay, these two work. Van Veen, I just keep saying, he's going to win a major one day. He might even be a future world champion. He is that good and that consistent. And we saw in the Pro Tour today, he was consistently averaging in the about around the 100 mark. Match after match. So he's a very consistent player and a dangerous one going into Blackpool, I feel. We'll talk a bit more about some of the Hong Kong play said in this particular interview there, but they had an excellent weekend. I said the Asian nations, it was going to be big for them.
You did say
but
that
it
on the
wasn't
program.
quite the way I expected it to.
That's so true.
Hong Kong got through their group and even beat the 11th seed Sweden.
They did very
in
well.
that match, who
Big
also
surprise.
played quite well, De Graaf and Lukasiak. And then the Philippines. Well, Lawrence Alongan, bizarrely, we talked about who was the leader in the pairs. Alongan really wasn't. It was Paolo Nebreda,
it was.
who was really the more
Unexpected.
consistent player across this tournament. And I don't know. I'm still not sure how Belgium, who were looking really strong to Decker and Vandenberg, looked like a strong pair. Vandenberg wasn't too edgy. They were 3-0 up in this game against the Philippines. And it's not even the fact that they went down a little bit, but it wasn't that much. It was just the Philippines went to another level and they got across the line 4-3 in a big upset. Argentina on debut. I mean, Finland were absolutely shocking as the 16th seed. So needing a last leg, but getting over the line against the Kiwis. And then the Malaysian pair, like I said, was watching them in 2x speed, but they were able to win their group. As already mentioned, Canada and the United States were very, very poor. I felt the US pair in particular in that Hong Kong group. It would have been much better for them if Jules Van Dongen in particular didn't play and they had literally anybody else come in from that CDC. Would have given them more of a chance. But as it was, Hong Kong made it through that group. And Malaysia, surprisingly, because I really didn't know what to expect from the Malaysian pair, with their very slow play, got over the line. Right, time for the biggest flop. England's on this, but can we start with Scotland?
Yes,
because
go ahead.
England also ties into the next segment. So let's start with Scotland, because I actually think Scotland losing 8-0 is a bigger shock than Germany beating England 8-4, because they were absolutely awful.
They were garbage.
Gary Anderson just wasn't at his best, and Peter Wright is very close to the end of his career. I think it's fair to say he's been extraordinary. We all love Peter Wright and for what he's done. Two-time champion of the world. Most people would easily take his career in a heartbeat. Just looking at the honour roll, even it's had lots of heartbreak along the way.
It has,
but he's been better than. He's almost a top 10, top 20 player all time. But 79 average, and again they were playing probably the strongest team to come through the group stage. If not equal to Germany.
In Netherlands, they were fantastic.
They averaged 100, but it was a chasm in the averages. Wright was again a bit like Whitlock, too wayward. So Scotland just got absolutely hammered. And then the team that couldn't be beaten
unbeatable,
was beaten.
apparently.
The thing is, right, England would have won that second round match if they were playing literally anyone other than the aforementioned Netherlands or Germany. I just thought they got really unlucky with the draw. The German crowd certainly helped the Germans. And it wasn't like they didn't play a 93.34 average in pairs. So they weren't that bad.
It's okay.
It's just they got to a slow start. Let them miss 3 darts at double at one point, 1 at 10s and 2 at 5s. And after that, they got better towards the end of the match, but they ran out of time.
Too little, too late, unfortunately for them. Yep. I just don't know. It just seemed that the camaraderie seemed like it wasn't what it should have been. Because they were saying, it's been marketed as number 1, number 2 in the world. You think they'd have all this immense synergy,
when
but it just didn't look like it.
I think part of the problem is because they're number 1 and 2 in the world, they're playing each other constantly. They're almost sick of each other.
Exactly.
Not in a bad way, but just like, I'm seeing you again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it just wasn't. Is the next slide the Goen price? Now, I'm not having this from Goen. Everyone was like, "Oh, Goen, this is so good. You're on point." This is the guy Goen Price who didn't show up to the World Cup last year. When he showed up last year, it was Jim Williams, and they got knocked down the first round. So I'm not having any of this from Goen saying, "Well, the only two players who didn't play together." Yeah, you didn't play together last year, Goen. You weren't there for Johnny. And you bombed out Wales bombed down the first round to it was the I can't even remember who it was, who beat them last year. So yeah, this is. I mean, he's not. I mean, the words itself
is he wrong? That's my question to you.
The words in itself.
That right
if we
there.
just take the text on its own,
gold words.
He's got a very strong point. Yeah. But I think it's very funny coming from Goen Price, given he has been one that has occasionally looked to skip these types of events.
Yep. I was gonna say, regardless of who it is the text correct?
Yeah, the text is fairly accurate.
I think he's pretty spot on, which we'll get to in a moment with one of the players' attitudes. But yes, I mean, look, I think it's pretty spot on. But obviously, you said Gil not rocking up last year was a story, and that's why you're not really liking what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm just not. Like I said, the text there, he's not completely wrong. But you can literally apply those words to what Goen Price did last year in deciding not showing up for the World Cup of Darts and Jim Williams playing in his place instead of Gezi, of course, with Johnny Clayton last year. I'm actually going to find, before we move on to the next bit, I'm actually going to work out who it was, because or else I'm going to be... They lost to Croatia 8-6 last year in the second round, Wales, when Goen Price pulled out after the draw had been made. So Wales kept their seeding instead of falling down like we saw the Netherlands did this year.
Yep.
Right, I'm going to hand this over to you. This isn't the great debate, but we're sort of mushing a few things in together. Go.
Yes, so I labelled Littler as a disappointing moment. Now, I'll show you in the next photo. There's an example I want to show, but I did not like his attitude coming throughout. The moment he walked through the walk-on to the Yoki, and all in between, I just did not like his attitude.
I skipped the walk-on, by the way, so I can't even respond to that.
Oh, okay, well, I didn't like his walk-on either. So if you could go to the next slide, please. This is a prime example of what I want to see here. So you can see, right? We got Humphreys with, I think it's a pretty...
Schindler is... this is not the greatest photo, but we had... Yeah. Well, that particular moment, it's actually Schindler and Pietretscu is embracing each other.
Anyway, so...
And I think actually in that particular frame, Humphreys is walking towards the referees and the markers, having been with the German pair previously.
Yeah.
So I think, if anything, this isn't quite proving a point because you've used an image that's about 3 or 4 frames too late. Well... But anyway...
I couldn't find a photo of actually walking off. But anyway...
You were trying to merge a couple of things that didn't really quite work out.
Anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that...
I know what you're trying to say, though.
Littler shakes hands with both Ricardo and Martin, and then he goes to the markers and the referee, of course. But the thing I hated about this was that he did not walk off with Humphreys. In my opinion, World Cup, you play as a team, you walk on as a team, and you finish the game as a team. He walked off, right? And you got Humphreys just stranded for about 5-10 seconds. I'm like, nah. World Cup, you play as a team, right? It's pairs darts, it's doubles. It's not like it's singles, right? So that really pissed me off. But I'm not sure what you think about that.
I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. This is someone
I just didn't like it, personally.
This is someone who has not enjoyed playing in Germany and has said so. He's not enjoyed playing against Pietretscu. They had a bit of a incident when he won his very first European tour he played in, and he won when Pietretscu wasn't happy with him going tops bull on with 90 and 2 darts in hand. That was in... where was that? That was in Austria, 2024, Austrian Darts Open. I understand the frustration for someone who he was at a place he didn't want to play in. There was a lot of pressure on. I understand where you're coming from, but I wasn't. I understood why he did what he did, and this was the guy. This was someone who did not just not. I don't think he was being disrespectful to Humphreys. I think it was more like, I just don't want to be on this stage any longer, and I'm doing whatever I can to get out of here. And he probably would have done a very similar thing if they won as well. He would have walked off stage as quickly as possible, because he just does not like playing in Germany at all.
Well,
because the crowd just doesn't. It's always, particularly when he is playing a German, it's sort of an inverse of what he gets in England.
True. Well, I say, even if you would have won that fixture, I think that he would have stayed on stage for a lot longer.
He would have stayed on stage for a bit long, but he would have been like, oh, well, let's get off quickly.
I'm not labelling him as a sore loser as such. You know, he did the right thing. It was a very half-assed hand and all
shake
that.
He did go to immediately shake
No, he
hands.
did. I did. He did. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying the way he walked off sort of was like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm walking off, going home. Not being with Humphreys just didn't sit well with me. But that was my sort of disappointing moment for the World Cup. But overall, it was very, very good. That was just one sort of thing that got me.
Are there anything about the World Cup that could be better? I know we don't have this on the great debate because I didn't have it down. But I had a couple of things. I feel like the open draw at the start of the top 16 is for that last 16 stage is a bit broken because the number 3 seed has not won since this format came in. The number 3 seed hasn't won. They're 0-3 because they keep drawing the 5 seed and keep losing to a team that's able to play their way into the tournament with those couple of matches. So a bit of rejigging there might be needed. I would prefer to see slightly longer group stage matches. I'd like to see a few more nations as well. I'd also like to see the tournament move around a bit, and no disrespect to Gurney, but you have lots of events.
Melbourne, please.
Well, that would be amazing, and that would help grow the sport by going to Australia, going to.
Could you imagine that?
Oh my word! Going to America, going to elsewhere in
Totally agree.
In Europe and Asia, of course. A lot of people make the suggestion of doing a Eurovision and having it at the home at the defending champs. Though the problem, if you look through the history of it's not the worst idea, but you'd be in England almost every other year, and that's not part of the World Cup. The reason why it came into existence in 2010, part of the reason, was to really grow the sort of next tiers down in the sport, and from that perspective, it wouldn't particularly work. But those are just some of the things I would like to see. Maybe expanded more nations. But that last 16 thing is something I don't think they can keep going with, because when the three seed is the team you don't want to be. You don't want to be the 3 seed. The 2 seed's probably the better position. Now, it's more luck more than anything else. But I still think there are ways you can almost automatically work out your knockout stage. Yes, it's hard because you got to fit 12 into 16 with the 4 already there. But I think you can almost reseed the teams and do that. Or if you like the round of draw, just do a UK Open and do it all the way through, which would make it fun.
Well, I had one thing, but you are sort of constrained to time, but having only 2 first to 4 matches in the group stage, that's not long enough. But I understand the whole time thing. Yeah. So what can you really do about it? I'm not sure. But it would be nice to have maybe a first to 6, first to 7. Not sure.
Yeah, even first to 5, a la the Grand Slam would be fine. It is a tight format.
That's the only thing. It is tight. It is because if you don't get away early and you're 2-0 down, you could be in deep strife.
You're stuffed if you're 2-0 down here, and especially if you're not playing particularly well.
Exactly.
Even though 3-0 down, the Philippines were, and they came back and won the match. So it's of course doable.
For sure.
Right. That's one topic.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on, I might go back because this thing is a bit funny. Do you want me to put this up near the mic here, Josh?
Yeah, go for it.
I hope it just does it. This thing's probably going to fall out. No. This is the Hong Kong pair. I had a feeling that would happen.
Just that. That's fine.
Here we go. I might actually try and move the mic.
Whilst you do that, so there was a debate or discussion rather. So Hong Kong did an interview with Tungsten Talks post game.
Yeah, this was a post match interview. Yep. Tungsten Talks online darts there. All the big guys were there. Everyone with media accreditation was there, Josh.
Not us. So they spoke about the difficulty of claiming a tour card in the Asia region. We'll have a listen now.
Where's the microphone on this thing? It's like down there.
Yesterday we have a job in Hong Kong. Yeah, so it's difficult for Asia because the travel and live is so expensive. So please help us. Just last time in Albury, I just say this is difficult to let Asian people to play in the Q school because you have to have the money. The thing is important. The money is help us to just for dreaming, but you don't have the money, nothing really.
There you go. So that was the interview there. Hopefully you.
Well, sorry, that was too close. That peaked. Sorry. And we'll get to Barney in the World Scenes at the moment. But the basic gist of it is we need help.
Yes.
Please help. I think everyone caught that bit.
Pretty much. Does it raise the question of the whole tour card system? Is it flawed? We've only got Europe and the UK, right?
We need.
How about an Asian one or an Australian one, or Asia being sort of ocean?
You could use Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
I I think it's something I think
Oceania,
Matthew Edgar
you know?
has actually talked about in interviews as well with online
I'm sure he
darts.
has. He always has a point on
he
anything.
usually has some pretty good ideas, Matthew. He might actually be coming back and playing a bit more darts, which would be good. I think he's going to be at the Super Series. The plan is to be in the Super Series later in the year, so that'd be fun
That'd be
to see
good.
prime time there. But anyway, I think he's mentioned it before. I think it would be a very good thing to have Q schools set up in different places.
Yep.
There's a lot with the tour card system which doesn't quite fully work. It's mostly very solid ideas, but it's just a bit. At the moment, it's a bit too difficult for certain players who are very, very good at
And
darts,
regions,
and we know they're very, very good at darts,
absolutely.
to be able to compete on a sort of level playing field. And of course, this is very difficult. It's still very UK based at the moment.
Central.
But it's starting to go away from the UK more and more now. And ironically, an Englishman in Luke Littler has been a big reason for that.
Who would have thought?
So I think having a few Q schools sort of around, 3 or 4 Q schools. You keep the one in the UK and Europe, that's fine.
Sure.
But having one out in the Americas and one out in Asia, who knows, maybe you have another one in Africa, so you sort of combined a couple of regions together. So Africa and the Americas go together, Asia and Oceania, that goes together, and then you have Europe and the UK on its own. I think that would help sort out a few different things as well. So there's a lot of logistical things that have to be sorted out there. But if they were able to set up that sort of Q schools, because Q school only started as one event in the UK, and then they brought in a European one, so it's not unheard of.
Yeah, well, it has expanded, but the execution at the moment just could be better.
Yeah.
You've got, I don't know how many cards is on offer, but it's separated into like 26 and 14 or something. So the actual distribution isn't even enough.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, it's not going to be the same every year because you have the 60, you have the top 64, then you have the Tour of the Chancellor Tour of the Dev Tour, and then you have all the ones that won their card last year. And that number is going to be different every year.
That's a good point.
Depending on how many get in that top 64.
Yeah.
So it's not
Good point.
unless you could change it and make it consistent, but that's going to be a hard thing to do. And you do feel like a lot of these guys really do need a second year to get in and really make their mark on this thing, particularly if they're outside that 64 and coming straight in. To give them just 1 year would probably not be enough.
That's true. Obviously, it depends per year, but could you have less in a certain region, give, I don't know, 6 to Asia or 6 to Oceania, you know?
Maybe.
Which makes it
There are another way
competition.
which could make it easy is forget the sort of we might be trying to sort of what's the analogy I'm trying to go for? The sink is shipping, but it's the sink is the problem. The ship sinking is the problem. We need to sort of go all the way back to the start of it and go, well, we have an agent tour, we have affiliate tours that play 20 plus events over the course of 12 months. We could just use that to give out tour cards instead of having this massive tournament at the start of the year to decide it. That's another way to potentially look at it. Just say the top 2 on the Asian Tour Order of Merit, that they'll get a tour card. They don't need to go to Q School.
Yep.
That sort of thing was done before when Stephen Bunting got his tour card for the first time. It was off the back of him winning, or actually just making the semi-final of the Lakeside World Championship. Back then, the top 4 just got a card if they accepted it and they didn't have to go to Q School. Yep. So I think Bunting was like the last person to take that offer, and then they took it away because no one took it because he was the only one of the semi-finalists to take it. That's how he got his card. He didn't need to go to Q School. He just got to the end of a tournament and that was enough. So that sort of thing. So again, a lot of these ideas aren't always novel. Sometimes you can just go back and just a decade ago to go, well, we did do that and that did sort of work. I mean, there's still one person on the tour that went in by that method. So yeah.
If you had prior success doing something, maybe bring it back if it worked for these players and the public liked it, or there was opportunity to expand. Obviously, there was only one, but now there's 2 Q schools. Why not expand it to more? Let's give more opportunity to sort of Asian nations, Hong Kong, Japan, whatever it is. Give those guys a chance to show their pedigree on the stage, show what they can do.
Yeah, because at the moment, if you're not from Europe, you basically have to do what Damo and Simon did, and that's move from one country and stay there. For Damo and Simon, it's worked because they are phenomenal darts players, and they were both once in the top 16. Simon isn't, of course, anymore, but Damo's sitting around that 8th, 10th mark.
However, if you are lower,
if you're not
and you
there,
don't have the money,
especially
then
because they don't give money to first round Pro Tour losers or guys from
as we've discussed many times on this
school
program. Yeah. So there you go.
But there could be a solution to that, Josh.
They do need help.
If you're not going to give them, you could. So you offer up some more opportunities, but you don't give them Pro Tour money or any other thing guaranteed. But one thing you could do is allow guys, for example, to play at Portsmouth. And that's what they're going to do with Barney.
They are going to do that with Barney.
A nice segue there. So,
perfect segue.
Remember Manuel, the 5-time champion of the world, went to the PDC. So how I understand this is he went through the proper channels. He didn't just go, surprise, I'm playing at the champion of champions in the World Seniors. That's not how he did it. He went through the system. He asked the PDC. He asked for their permission if he would be able to play at this particular event, even though it's on a different TV network, and it's not a PDC event. And the PDC said, yes, Raymond, you may do that. So he's going to be, when you mentioned this last week, I didn't see the story. I just assumed it was like a Phil Taylor. Oh, he's going to be there, meet and greet. Maybe he'll throw some exhibition dust. No, he's in the tournament. He's in the tourney. And that's a big coup for the World Seniors, having someone of the stature as Raymond. I know for people like you and I, he was just someone who won a tour card a few years ago and hasn't done much since. But he's a bona fide legend of the sport.
Legend, all right. I probably didn't explain that as much as I could. Sorry about that. Or
to be fair, it was written up there. I just wasn't paying attention, and it was the first time I'd seen it, so I needed to reread it a couple of times.
I mean, I would have to sort of look back and see how I presented, but yes. However, it was done. Very exciting. Very exciting.
It is very exciting to see him there, and it might open up more opportunities for the PDC to eventually go, you know what, you can play at the MODUS Super Series in a week where there's no Pro Tours on. You can go and do these other exhibition stuff that's streamed elsewhere, or play in a WGF Open, all that sort of thing. So it'll be an interesting one to watch here. Will this market change? It might, as long as you go through the proper channels. Speaking of, we were talking a lot about Asian players. And the Mongolian JDC star, I think we're just going to call him by his first name, Turgle, now, because that's much easier to do it that way.
Good luck.
Has won the Advanced Tour, and is the now JDC world #1. He won the final event of the season, the 14-year-old from Mongolia, first Asian player to top the JDC's overall rankings. He won 2 events in the final weekend, including that last one. Ryan Brownlee was second, only 1 point behind in the standings, so very, very close. Well done, Turgle. I'm looking forward to see how his career develops. And
likewise.
I don't think we've ever seen Mongolia at the World Cup of darts, and if he was to ever pick up a tour card, they would get in automatically.
He could be the one.
So,
he could start the chain.
Yeah, so we've had, I think, 48 different nations in the history of the PDC World Cup of darts. So we could see Mongolia in the not too distant future.
The more the better.
The more the merrier, indeed.
Diverse. We love it.
Yeah, so he's obviously had a strong campaign on the JDC, and someone who, we're going to have to keep an eye on. So he needed to win the final or lose by a single leg to lift the trophy. And in that final event on the Advanced Tour, he's 4-1 up, fought it back to 4-4. Then he had a 16 darter. Then it went back to 5-5, which, I mean, the 16 darter basically sealed it. But he still wanted to win the match and produced a 13 dart leg. He is someone that every now and again I do see he puts in 100 average on occasion, as a lot of these JDC guys do. So this is the second time I mentioned him. The first time was more just as a novelty thing. I keep seeing this guy from Mongolia. It turns out he's pretty much the best JDC player at the moment.
Pretty good.
So keep an eye out for Turgle of Mongolia.
Well done.
Now, and that actually reminds me, I forgot to put in one thing for the crazy moments. And it was the best, it was the funniest moment of the entire weekend. It was even funnier than the guys chewing gum / teeth falling out. When the USA was playing Bahrain, I don't know if you caught this, for the first half a leg, the graphic they put up, and I immediately noticed something was wrong. When the flag that they put next to Bahrain was actually Brunei. It was, they put up the wrong flag.
Didn't say that.
They put up the wrong flag, and I immediately went, that's the flag of Brunei. And what was funnier, the Bahrain shirt was just their flag. So it was pretty easy to work out that one wasn't it.
Strange.
Even the vexillological lover that I am probably didn't even need to know that, well, Bahrain do appear to be wearing their flag basically as their shirt. So that was very amusing. And just the thought of... I just imagine the Mongolian flag on a Sky Sports graphic, and that reminded me, oh yeah, Brunei was apparently playing at the World Cup of Darts on the weekend for about half a leg. And then they switched it out and put the Bahrain flag up
they changed
very quickly. But people did get photos and screenshots and that sort of thing. And I noticed it. So well done, Turgle of Mongolia, for being this week's Future Star, the second time you're in the segment. Well done on winning the Advanced Tour. and picking up that last event as well very narrowly. And well done to Brunei for their fantastic half-leg performance at the World Cup. Finally,
This is all yours.
this is
All
what
you.
I've been waiting for. I've been complaining. Rod Studd was saying multiple times on commentary that it was imminent. Yes, it was imminent for about 5 months. It's finally here. Qualification for the PDC World Darts Championship. Here we are. I was just looking around for the thumbnail for this video, for this podcast. They will when it goes out on YouTube. And I was like, oh, hello. They put it up finally. So it is pretty much what I half expected. 40 from the top 40 on the PDC Order of Merit, the 2-year main Order of Merit.
Yep.
After the Players Championship Finals will qualify. Luke Littler will be there, as will the likes of Humphreys, Van Gogh. And then the top 40 non-qualified players from the 1-year Pro Tour Order of Merit will get in. So it was 32 and 32. Now it's 40 and 40.
Which is great.
And then up to 48 places set to be allocated to international qualifiers. Now, I could have easily put up the graphic they put up on the next slide.
I do have it if you want me to chuck it up.
You can if you wish.
Yep.
I
can do that
what I was
quickly.
going to do was going to go to the likes was going to go to dartsranking.com because they were very quick to make sure that the World Championship race was fully up to date here. So Humphrey still is just about the projected number 1 in the world. Damo still inside the top 10. So you can go to dartrankings.com/WCH to see the live Order of Merit and the race for the World Championship. So at the moment, James Hurrell is basically the 80th man in, and he's at 12 point. So basically, he's at 12.25 there, and that's in 1,000. So that's £12,250 on the 1-year Order of Merit is currently in. That probably isn't going to be enough. It's even hard to work out where this is. Like, Ricky Evans is sitting here on 17th, but he's only about 6,000 ahead, which I don't know if that's even going to be enough. We'll see. There's still about half of the Players Championship events and roughly the same Euro Tours, I think, as well, to play through. But as it is, they've finally done it. Is it on the next slide?
Next slide. Yep.
Yes, this is exactly what I wanted. You knew
You're
it.
welcome.
So what have we got here? We've got the World Youth Champion. We've now got the top 3 on the Dev Tour, the Challenge Tour, and the Women's Series. So we can see it's the top 4. I think there's about 8 in Asia. The top 5 on the Asian Tour. I'm actually going to see what the Asian Tour is at the moment, just to see if our man Lim is still there.
I'm sure he will be.
I'm sure he's...
Well, it's up to 5th place. So
it's up to top 5, so that's one more from last year.
which is great. So I'm sure. He was he first or third?
He was first, then he was
first.
third.
Yeah.
But he was first for a brief time. Then he went down to third. He's currently sitting third. He was first for a while. He's now currently third. So Lawrence Alongan, Manlok Lung, Paul Lim, Azamoto, and Sakai are in. So all guys we saw at the World Cup of Darts.
We did.
They're all there. Alexis Toilo, who's another great Filipino, is just sitting on the outside there. So yeah,
Bang
at the
on the
moment
door.
we can say Paul Lim is currently in a position to play
In
at
a
Albury
good
Palace.
spot.
He's in a good spot. He's right there in the middle of that.
What's
5.
the prize money? Is he quite heavy on it, as in comparison to who's 6th or
Yeah,
sort of
he's
thing?
a good.
What's
He's
his-
actually got a good gap there. He's
What's the gap
about,
like?
I'm trying to work this mess out. About 16,000.
Okay. Yeah,
which is
that should be enough.
that's
I
in,
mean,
I think that's in US dollars.
if he keeps winning, he'll be fine,
Well,
right?
Yeah, if he just keeps playing consistently enough, the way he's playing at the moment.
Yep.
He should be right. I did also see that I can't remember which one it is. I'm going to see. I think it might be one of the CDC events. It might be the
Yes.
Continental Cup. I can't remember.
There's a spot there for the Continental
Yeah,
Cup.
I can't remember which CDC event it was, but one of them was held in April and was won by Leonard Gates, which means Gates is currently
Yes.
in the World World Championship.
That would make sense. Yes, we did talk about that.
I feel like we probably
think it
did
was
talk
the
about that
CDC.
because we love Leonard.
We do. I love
Um,
Leonard more.
Yeah, probably. Those walk-ons are extraordinary. So I do think Leonard Gates, he basically, unless he mixes up his flights again, which is a reference to his last World Championship, and throwing at the 19s on, what was he on, 188. He's going to be at the World Championship, which is great.
Lovely.
One thing that intrigues me is right down the bottom there
One place to be
for
confirmed.
one place TBC. Who knows what that means? The only little
I'll
downside
be
I
there.
have is that that might be just an open. Any rando who wants to turn up.
After my performance, which we'll get to later
Uh,
on.
don't jump the gun yet, Josh. Any rando wants to show up for that one-place qualifier on
Happily
like
show up.
a week before the tournament in somewhere in London, come down and maybe you might be able to get through this massive 3,000 player field to make the final. Sort of a UK qualifier, amateur qualifier for the UK Open on steroids. The only little disappointing thing I have is there's still only one spot from Africa, which feels unders.
It does.
Feels
feel
like you
unders.
could have
Yep.
almost split Africa in two and had a qualifier there, or use some sort
Two
of order
or
of merit
three
thing.
spots maybe instead of just the
I
one.
think a second spot would have been perfectly reasonable. But as it is, outside of that little gripe, I think it's very good. Top 40, top 40, 48. The top 32 will be seeded. The next 32 will get their own individual spot. You could see the number one play the number 33 in the second round, much like we see at a tennis Grand Slam. They're all going to start from the start.
Yep.
It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Important to note there, ANZ Premier League and ADA Australian Tour.
If we look,
both there.
If we look back home, we've got 1, 2, 3 in
Yeah,
Australia, and we've got 1 in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So some good love.
And that Premier
Oceania.
League one is Australia and New Zealand,
Yes.
really. So it's really two in
true,
Australia,
true,
one
true,
in
true.
New Zealand, and then one that's both.
True.
In effect. So, so
That's good.
we'll keep an eye on all of those, and
We
we
will.
might try and work out,
Do
try
some
and tick
updates.
some of these off as we go along.
That's a good idea, actually.
As we go along to see when, because some of these events will wrap up sort of October time. Some of them will just be one weekend events. Others will be, of course, across the whole year. So I'll be very interested to see how things go down there as we finally get the qualification format. 128 guys will show up for the World Championship.
On Ali Pally.
And only one will lift the
Across the
Sidwood
Christmas
Tower
period.
trophy.
Who will it be?
Oh, it's going to be
Find
so
out.
exciting. Back
All
home.
right, back home. Yes, Brody Klinge. He won 2 Australian DPA Pro Tour titles in Albury. So if you have any international viewers, Albury is on the border of New South Wales and Victoria, basically in New South Wales. And he won those events he won events 11 to 12, but he won across June 14 to 15. Gordon Mathers, who had a tour card, he won event 10. If you look at the results in event 10 from quarterfinals and beyond, Brody Klinge won 6-3 over ex-tour card holder Brennan Weaning. Semi-final, he won 6-5 over Joe Comito. In the final, he won... this is Gordon Mathers, rather. 6-5 against Brody Klinge, which we'll get to now. Event 11, quarterfinals, he won 6-4 against Kohar Kokiri. 6-4 against Jordan Mathers. I'm not sure if that's his... Gordon Mathers' brother. I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. 6-1 against Brennan Weaning in the final. Event 12, now this is set play, mind you. He won 2-0 against Brennan Weaning in the quarterfinal. 3-2 and a tenth last leg decider against Jordan Mathers, and then 3-0 whitewash against Keith Chardhallis. Hopefully I said that right. So there you go. There was those 3 events across the weekend. One was won by Gordon Mathers and the other 2 by Brody Klinge. So some good results there in the Aussie system. Good to see.
Absolutely. I was trying to see... I'm a bit confused by the DPA's website because there's 2 different spots for Order of Merit.
It can be a bit
I
confusing.
feel like I've got one here which I feel like is a bit more likely, and it says Joe Comito on top, Jones Bailey second, and Brody Klinge third.
Yep.
That feels like the more correct one. You got Gordon Mathers in there as well. Brandon Weaning not that far away. So I'm guessing I put more faith in that particular Order of Merit being the correct one as of right now.
Yeah.
Agent Tour, yes, I also see this. It's going to expand to 28 events next year.
Absolutely.
That's Lorenzo after he qualified for the Grand Slam
2024
of darts last year. Yeah, Agent Tour is continues to go from strength to strength, and we've seen the best of it at the World Cup.
Having more exposure is so good. So an extra 4 events. I've got some information here. So we've got 28 events. The PDC Asian Tour season will resume on July 5 to 6. So not long to go until it resumes in Singapore, with events 17 to 20. Then we'll go to the Philippines on August 2nd to the 3rd for events 21 to 24. So you're probably wondering where these extra 4 events come into play. So in China, they'll host 4 extra events from September 11 to 14. 4 big days of action and $20,000 available in prize money. So good. Again, getting more prize money towards these guys is fantastic. Then we've got the PDC Asian Championship taking place in the later part of September. 48 player field, so it makes up of qualifiers. We've got the highest ranked player in the nation of the Asian Tour Order of Merit, and then the remaining places are allocated to the PDC Asian Tour Order of Merit, up to 48 players there, and the top 16 players will be seeded. So there you go, a lot of information about the PDC Asian Tour, which is going from strength to strength, as you mentioned.
Chris Dobey won the 17th Players' Championship event, so that's halfway through the 34.
Yes.
Averaging 98.69 in the final. But some of the other guys here intrigue me.
Yes.
Dirk van Dijvenbode, my man, got to a final, averaged 102, but couldn't get over the line in the last legger. Damon Hedder and Jan van Veen made the final off the back of big weeks at the World Cup, so well done to both of them as well. Michael Smith looks like in a bit better form, got to a quarter-final as well, as did James Wade and Thibaut Tricol as well, made a quarter-final there. Damon Hedder averaging 108.94 in that 6-2 quarterfinal win over Richard Veenstra, who was the other losing quarterfinals along with Smith, Wade and Tricol. But Chris Dobey, the winner of the event, coming through there and beating Dirk in the final, a very strong version of Dirk as well. Looking at these averages, they were none really massively stood out. Well, there was 103 average against Josh Rock in the last 16, but mostly a very strong performance for the most part from Chris Dobey, who was a very consistent player, and that helped him very much as well. Stephen Bunting got to the last 16 as well.
Very good.
Actually averaged more than a ton when he lost to Vinstra 6-4. But well done, Chris Dobey, for winning Players' Championship Event 17, Dirk for making the final, and Damo and Jan for making a semi-final at the back of a big week of the World Cup.
Dobey won 6-3 in the last 16 against Josh Rock. Quarterfinal, 6-3 against James Wade. Semi-final 7-5 against Jan van Veen, who is an absolute star. He is going places. I'm telling you. And then your man, 8-7. Well, Chris Dobey won.
He beat a couple of my men there, Jan van Veen and Dirk van Dijvenbode, two of my favourite Dutch players.
Yep.
I like the look of both of them.
Van Veen and Rock are going places, man. I'm telling you, they have such good potential.
I feel like
this
is almost the catalyst for them with this particular World Cup. We got to see it a bit more this week.
Sure did.
I feel like I was going to mention one last thing there. There's a couple more Players' Championship events coming up in the next couple of days. Yep. We'll talk about that next time.
Bit of MODUS action for you. Week 5 just concluded. Andy, the Hammer Hamilton was your winner.
Hammer time.
4-3 victory against Carl Sneed. 94 average, 180, and very good on the checkouts there. 66.67%. Here's your winner. Had a great finals campaign. If you look at the finals night results from the semi-finals, Carl Sneed had a 4-3 victory against Justin Smith, and Andy Hamilton 4-2 against Michael Huntley before obviously winning 4-3 in the final. We've got Group A, and guess who's back? Peter Wachuri.
Yes, he's doing a bit better in Group A at the moment. He was very strong in Group C last time.
Yeah.
But so he's currently sitting 5th, and he averaged like a ridiculous 100 and something. A very strong performance at one point from Peter Wachuri in one of those 4 wins. But at the moment, he's currently sitting in 5th position. Half of first place, Neil Duff and Charlie Manby in 2nd and 3rd, behind Adam Goloz at the top there.
Yes, indeed. So that should be an interesting Group A finish. Gallas, I'm not sure. And if we go next slide, well, this hasn't been updated, but obviously Hamilton has been updated, along with Jeff Smith, Scott Taylor, John O'Shea, and Shay McGurk will all be in the Motor Super Series 11 Champions Week.
Now, you and I played actually a couple of matches.
We did.
Yesterday, because we were bored and we had time. In the first match, you won 3-0. In the second, I actually picked a couple of legs off you.
I played garbage.
You 3 from 31 on the outer ring. Come on.
Garbage.
You still got over the line 3-2, averaging 45. At one point in that first match, you threw you'd only thrown 6 darts, but you're averaging like 117.5.
I was going well. And because my camera kept crapping itself.
I think let's give up on the camera at the moment. I think the flow of the game is good. We can send
stutter and stop. I know.
We can send photos to each other. I think we talk to each other over the WhatsApp call, and I think we can believe each other.
I trust you.
Yeah,
hopefully you trust me too.
I think I do.
You hope?
I could have so easily lied about hitting tops with that one where the two were right on the wire there. It wasn't quite in. I will say, even though you might look at my numbers and go, "Oh, he was only slightly better than last week," I tell you what, I was throwing much better than I was in the last couple of weeks. I think I might have hit 1 ton in like the entire time we were playing. But the way they were going into the board, there were a lot of 41s and 45 and 60s. But I liked the way they were traveling and landing.
Going in the board.
I was doing a bit of this sort of stuff, a bit more of that setup motion, which I think helped a bit. And I was standing more of that 45 pull limb style instead of the 90 degrees flat Phil Taylor style. So maybe those two things
maybe
sort
works
of helped
for
as
you.
well.
Again, you've never.
But I made
never been
front
on.
I've never been front on. I will never be front on. I don't like front on.
It works for me most of the time. I've tried it. It's just the angle of my shoulder to the board just doesn't do it for me, to be honest.
And I just don't feel natural doing going straight up there. I've got to be sort of at a bit of an angle and a bit of a lean.
So, yeah, we did play 2 matches. Number one, because I was annoyed that the camera wasn't working. I'm like, you know what, stuff it, we'll play again. Then you accepted the rematch, and then, pretty average. But if we go to the next slide
hang on, before we do that,
yes.
I do want to mention that it was a 3-2 win to you. Every single leg went against the throw. It went against the throw. That was very amusing. Anyway, but Josh, he's getting better. And in one particular match he had, he went and hit a 180.
Let's just
he averaged 75. He was 2 from 6 on the outer ring and a 2-0 win over poor Kevin here, who averaged a very strong 41.92, 56.33, but he hit a 140. Didn't get a look in.
No.
Didn't get a look in. Starts as 23 and 17. And a max to kick us off. He was on the 9. He was on the 9. And you blew it, Josh. You blew it.
I know. So I was wondering how I was going to get this image, right? You're probably wondering. I texted the guy in the chat saying, "Oh, do you mind taking a screenshot and sending it to me on Instagram?" And he very kindly did for me. So that's how he got the footage from his point of view. You can see it just going in. It's a bit of a grainy image near the treble bed, but one of the best guns I've ever played in my life. 75 average, 85 on the first 7.
I've never averaged.
17 done.
I've averaged like
I was
49 at best.
I was gobsmacked. I'm just such in a flow state, and it was amazing. Sorry, I reckon that's the best game I've ever played. Just had to point that out. So
I threw a
very happy.
In practice before, we got started. I had like I wrote it up on the chalkboard there. I think I had a 29 data, which is one of my better ones. I was actually quite happy with it as well, because I'll actually bring it up.
I think this is my best 17.
I'll tell you exactly what I'll bring it up here.
So I could actually be in 14 or 15 because I
Here we go.
had
This
two
is
missed at
it was
double
a
eight,
29 data. 65, 26, 45, 28, 26, 100. 65 to leave 146, and then I got the first 57 of the 146
and then,
left, and then
no.
then out in the single 7. 68 to leave 78. 38. I actually go on 78. I actually like to go treble 20 first dart instead of treble 18, because I like double 9 because my favorite is double 18, so I'm used to aiming at that double.
Gives you options.
And I'm not blocking the treble 20 as much. I think only like Simon Whitlock's like the only other person who's ever done that. Left tops and then missed high with dart 1 and then was in with dart 2 for a 29 data, which isn't. I mean, you read the score, you got a couple of 26s in there, but there was that 100, there was that 65 set up to leave the 146. I was very happy. Yeah, like a 29 data for me is fantastic stuff.
I'll say
it's no 17 data.
Thank goodness my camera was working, so you can actually see it. So it's not just some BS that I spinned out. But I know 75 average is incredible. But this is our.
All right, Darts Archive.
Last week.
We talked about Paul Lim and Howard Lim. They did produce the upset 5-2, and they probably
sure did.
It should have got to 4-3, but Scotland missed darts double, and Paul Lim took his opportunity with that ton topper. So with a ton finish. So that was the time. Paul Lim and Howard Lim in 2019 beat Gary Anderson and Peter Wright. We were very focused on the World Cup this week, and we didn't really come up with anything. So our recommendation for you for the Darts Archive is just to watch that final again. It was that good. It was Darts Archive material. So Josh Rock and Daryl Gurney with their victory over Gil Price and Johnny Clayton. It gets better, even though the result. It was just an extraordinary match, and the full thing's up on YouTube. Thank you very much, PDC, for doing that. Right, Josh, we've been speaking for, we've definitely been speaking for roughly an hour. Whether it'll be a full hour on the final version, we'll find out in a moment. Thank you very much.
Pleasure as always. Thank you for being here.
What a sport. What a great time. I don't think we're going to do any footy chat episodes because Woodsy isn't in. And you've got to get yourself ready because where are you going?
Bali. You're
going to Bali. So I've got no idea if we're going to have an episode next week. You might be up on this screen.
Maybe.
There's no PDC televised event this week.
No.
But the following week, which is why we didn't even bother with a week ahead segment. But next week they'll be at MSG, Madison Square Gardens. Damo will be there. Michael Van Gogh may or may not be there. I doubt it, but he's still a chance. So we will look forward to that event. Hopefully we'll do one of these next week. But like and subscribe to Extra Time if you haven't already. Follow us on socials as well.
Instagram,
thank you very much for listening. The World Cup of Darts was such a great event, and hopefully this really builds to bigger and better things throughout the rest of the year.
Only 360-ish days to go. Can't wait. Start the countdown now.
We're waiting for the next World Cup of Darts. All right, fair enough.
So good.
It was a fantastic tournament. This has been the 9 Dart Podcast.